What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Rise of the Beasts Ultimate Optimus Primal by Takara Tomy. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've been so excited to finally get my hands on this guy because unfortunately, besides the Voyager, there really hasn't been too many good-looking Optimus Primal figures based on the film, and it's such a shame because, at least to me, he was one of the biggest standout characters, and I mean, come on, it's Optimus Primal. So, as we very quickly check out the packaging, I was super surprised to see that not only does he come with a shed ton of gimmicks and accessories, but he's actually a pretty decent looking figure. I mean, as we come around here to the back of the box, at the moment this is looking to maybe be the most accurate version of Optimus Primal based on the film, because both Beast and Robot mode look pretty banging, and as you can see, you will also be able to weaponize him up with some of those Beast Battle Masters. So, with that being said, let's get Ultimate Optimus Primal out here and see whether or not he lives up to the name of being Ultimate, and if he is a pickup or a pass. And here we have Takara Tomy's Optimus Primal, and they are once again proving to be the masters of Transformers figures, because I'm going to be honest, guys, this is one of the best gimmick-based releases that I think I've seen released in the past decade. This guy is awesome, such an amazing balance between screen accuracy and enjoyability, and this is exactly what Hasbro should be looking to for future gimmick-based releases. This absolutely decimates any of those Beast Mode Optimus Prime and Bumblebee figures that were put out to retail, and I could almost guarantee you that if they were releasing figures of this quality at retail, the shelves would quite literally be clean, because this is one of the best mainline Rise of the Beast figures which I've so far checked out, and maybe the best Optimus Primal. We still have the Studio Series version left to review, which may or may not be more accurate, but whether or not it will be more enjoyable does remain to be seen. So as we check out the details, first of all, the colour of this guy is badass, super sleek, much like we saw from the Rise of the Beast movie, and one thing which took me by surprise more than anything the second I cracked this guy out the packaging was the build quality. I was expecting him to be very hollow, very light feeling. Absolutely not. He couldn't be further away from that. He is built so well. As you can see, there are barely any hollow spaces on this guy at all, and he is most definitely kind of the old 2017 leader class scale. So definitely a really imposing looking release. But as we check out the face sculpt, as you can see, that looks super badass. I love the detailing that we've got packed into the eyes, and finally green maximal eyes to match what we saw in the film. So that's really cool. Check out the detail we've got here for the neck. If it's a fight you want, then you've got one. And I think that is definitely something I'm going to be saying when we whack out the Studio Series version for a comparison in the future. But really nice chest design. I like some of the gunmetal highlights that you can see on the armor. That looks really badass. And check this out. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. Those are articulated fingers on a gimmick release, which is just super awesome. Takara Tomy are the masters of their craft, but amazing detail as we spin around here to the back. For the most part, I think this looks pretty cool. The backpack has been managed decently. Maybe would have been cool had they found a way to have kind of hidden this ass flap, but besides that, such a clean looking design. Now, in terms of articulation, this also was something which super surprised me when I got him out of the box, because he is not a brick. He's actually far from it. So in terms of the head, it can look up, it can look down, it can also tilt side to side as well as rotate left to right, which is awesome. The arms can rotate the full 360, which is pretty cool. And check this out, actual butterfly joints again on a gimmick based release. Now, this is something that you'll see slightly more of once we get him transformed into Beast mode, but you can still use it pretty okay here for Robot mode. We can also kick these out to the sides. I do wish in some ways that maybe these shoulder pads could have clicked into place for Bot mode, because when you're just articulating them, 9 times out of 10 they like to come with the bicep. So yeah, that can be a little annoying, but we also get a nice bicep rotation as well as a way past 90-degree bend here, only on a single joint out of the elbow. And check out the hand articulation. So not only can it rotate left to right, but it can also hinge forwards and backwards, and look at that masterpiece level of articulation on a gimmick based release. That is so badass. 2 points of articulation here for the index finger and 2 points here for the 3 conjoined fingers. Super cool. I love the waist articulation. Unlike the mainline Voyager, we don't have that massive kind of flap coming along with it, so that's really cool. This can rotate the full 360, so super dynamic. And listen out for this, guys. Proper clicky ratchet joints packed into the hips. This is exactly what I would expect from some of the Studio Series leader class figures, so that's absolutely fantastic. And check out that high kick. They can also go back to a pretty decent range, so that's awesome. They'll also kick out to the sides. We do get a thigh swivel as well as kind of a knee swivel, so again, fantastic articulation on this guy. And again, listen out for this. proper clicky joints packed into the knees, which due to his transformation can bend slightly past 90. And then finally, bang, we get a fantastic ankle pivot, as well as due to transformation, technically a toe bend. So overall, I am super impressed by this Ultimate Optimus Primal. Whether or not the Studio Series version is more accurate, I still don't think it's going to be as enjoyable as this guy, because from the second I've cracked him out of the packaging, I have not been able to put him down. This really does throw me back to some of the Dark of the Moon, Revenge of the Fallen leader class figures, where they were just decent releases. They looked fantastic, they felt fantastic, they were built fantastically, and they had a shed ton of gimmicks and accessories to kind of go along with them. This is a return to form, and it's the type of quality that I'm hoping we can see from the next live-action Transformers film. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard me bang on enough in regards to these gimmicks, so let's finally check them out. So, first of all, as you guys may recall, Optimus Primal in the Rise of the Beast movie did have a retractable mouthpiece, and that is also a feature that they've integrated here for this figure. So, in order to kind of swap this out, all you have to do is lift the entire face piece up, rotate this section around, and bang! Check that out! We have a live-action movie Optimus Primal with a mouth. Fantastic integration into the head sculpt. I believe this was something that we saw with the original Age of Extinction Armored Knight Optimus Prime, which surprisingly also was released by Takara Tomy. I mean, they are just so fantastic at what they do, but yeah, amazing looking detail. And they've also taken a bit of creative license in regards to this Optimus Primal design, and have in some ways harkened back to how he appeared in Beast Wars. So as you guys may notice, we do have this raised area on the gauntlet, and check this out. That's because the second you push this button, bang, we do get the gauntlet guns, which are directly inspired by Beast Wars, and these are spring-loaded. I cannot remember the last time that we got a decent Transformer with a spring-loaded mechanism packed into it, and that is so cool. These are blast effect compatible, and yes, bang, we do get two sides which operate just as awesomely as each other, and I just think this is really cool. Personally, this is one of my favourite features about this Optimus Primal, but we're not even done, because what you can also do is pop open Primal's chest piece, and then take this entire back assembly and arch this section here back. Take these sections, I love how they did add gap fillers. You know, if this was Hasbro, we would probably not see this, but you can take these gap fillers here, pull them backwards, take these missiles and lift them forwards. Now, it can kind of be difficult to pry them out, but do the same here for this side. And then all you're going to want to do is close this back up, and bang, Primal is armed to the teeth. So again, Beast Wars accurate over-the-shoulder cannons, super badass. But what would these be without some actual missiles? So Takara Tomy did include a pair of them, pretty decently detailed, especially here for the tips. Unfortunately, these are not spring-loaded. These are pressure-based missiles. I imagine that so that if you poke your eye out, it's down to yourselves for firing them too hard, and not Takara Tomy's springs for being too powerful. But all you have to do is just pop these in just like that, and Primal is weaponized up to take out some of the Predacons and the Terracons. You come around here to the back, apply a bit of pressure. Do you know, if you're like myself and you spent hours messing around with the high octane Bumblebee from Transformers Age of Extinction, then you'll know roughly whereabouts to apply the pressure. But just kind of push these and bang, they will projectile to quite a fair distance. So do the same here for this side. Bang, he's just taken out Unicron. So yeah, overall absolutely love this guy, and you can also store these missiles in the back of Primal when you have these launchers powered down and transformed back into the backpack. So yeah, that's really sweet. Now, in terms of additional accessories, what would Primal be without his dual swords that we also saw him use in Rise of the Beast? Now, I have conjoined these. Yes, bang, you can split these into two individual accessories. I really like the orange effect. You know, it looks as if though he's been slicing and dicing some of those Predacons and Terracons, so these look pretty cool. My only issue with these is due to the articulated fingers, he doesn't really hold these too well, so the grip in itself is kind of loose, and when you wrap these fingers around, whilst it will hold okay, the minute you kind of start posing him, it can become very loose. So I do wish maybe the grip, the circular port that we had pre-sculpted in the hand, could have been a little tighter, much like we've seen from the Commander class Rodimus Prime that Hasbro and Takara brought out a few years back. But that's just a minor qualm, and if you didn't want him using these at all, you can also pack them into the backpack, which again is directly inspired by Beast Wars. But we're not quite finished just yet, because as a pre-order bonus, Takara Tomy have included a burning version of Cheetor. Now, this is the same Beast Battlemaster design that we saw released at regular retail, although this time some of the pieces have been completely cast in transparent red plastic. It looks fantastic. So just to very quickly showcase how you can transform him, you basically flip the blade here upwards, take these arms, lift these upwards, fold the back legs forwards first, and then take the front legs and fold them backwards, fold out this little tab, and bang, there we have Cheetor fully weaponized into into his blade mode, which, talking of, you guys may have noticed how many ports this Optimus Primal has scattered throughout his robot mode, and that's because bang! You can fully weaponize Optimus Primal up with all of the Beast Battle Masters which have so far been released, which is kind of cool. Again, a really nice gimmick for them to throw in, and because these are all kind of the standard 5mm port, or as I like to refer to them as the MechTech ports, you can use pretty much any weapons that we've seen released in the past decade. So yeah, that's fantastic, and we even get a few additional ones here packed onto the back, which is pretty sick. So this Optimus Primal most definitely is a force to be reckoned with, and as I said beforehand, super enjoyable. If you can only pick up at the moment one Optimus Primal based on Rise of the Beasts, then I could not recommend this thing enough, because it is by far the most fun that I've had with a Transformer in an incredibly long time. And yes, the nostalgia button is most definitely being smacked, because it does throw me back to some of those Dark of the Moon and Revenge of the Fallen leader class figures. Now, as we check out a few comparisons, as you guys can see, Takara Tomy is no stranger to giving us exclusive movie tie-in items, because this right here is the legendary Optimus Prime, which they released exclusively for the Bumblebee movie, and it's a fantastic figure. You know, it's such a shame that 9 times out of 10, these molds never really make it to retail, because after they're released, they're either super pricey to pick up or super difficult to track down. But yeah, these are fantastic. This was kind of leader class scale, and as you guys can see, Primal most definitely does follow suit. Next up, here we have the Transformers The Last Knight leader class Megatron, so definitely a really big Optimus Primal. This was a 2017 leader, and unfortunately, since the release of this guy, leaders have slightly shrunk again. So yeah, definitely a pretty decent size, the largest proper Optimus Primal that we've so far seen released, with the exception of their animatronic version. Here's Ultimate Primal alongside the Retro Beast Wars reissue, and I thought this would be a cool comparison, because this is where Primal figures very first started off, and this is where we are now in 2023. Massive evolution, but it's still cool that Takara Tomy have kept some of the gimmicks that made this original figure so badass. Here we have the YOLO Park model kit Optimus Primal, so as you can see, Ultimate Primal is even larger than this guy, and I'd say he was a little bigger when in comparison to Studio Series leaders, so yeah, definitely a beastly figure. Here we have him alongside the Rise of the Beast Studio Series Scourge, and yes, this does appear to be kind of way off when in comparison to the movie. This is definitely where I think if you're a scale nut, then you're going to be more happy with the Studio Series version, but will it be more enjoyable? Honestly, guys, I don't think so. Here he is alongside the mainline Voyager Primal, which, don't get me wrong, I still think for the scale and the price point is a fantastic looking release, but as you can see, especially in terms of colour, Ultimate Primal is way more accurate to the movie when in comparison to this mainline Voyager, but both very impressive figures. It's kind of cool to see just how badass mainline Rise of the Beast figures have been, because despite Studio Series being pretty decent in terms of accuracy, enjoyability wise, these guys have been on top form, with the exception of some of those weaponizer Beast Combiner figures, which, yeah, weren't too great. And then for a few quickfire ones, here is mainline Voyager class Optimus Prime, Studio Series Buzzworthy Bumblebee Prime, Voyager class Battle Trap, Studio Series Cheetor, and Rhinox Deluxe class Bumblebee. And then finally, the movie masterpiece, Bumblebee Optimus Prime with the DNA design add-on. So he's a little larger when in comparison to the regular retail release. But as you can see, Primal is a little smaller than Masterpiece, but too big for Studio Series mainline. So he's kind of in a void of his own. I imagine he's a little more to scale with the legendary Optimus Prime, which I showcased previously, and also was released by Takara. So, with everything just about wrapped up for robot mode, let's now get stuck into transformation. So, to kickstart things off with, you are going to want to take the shoulder pads and bang, just collapse them down like that. I then like to come down here to the toes, basically just attach those away from the sole of the foot and snap them upwards onto the shin. Now, this is a little lazy in terms of engineering. I really wish they borrowed what we saw from the mainline Voyager, but more on that once we check out the beast mode. So, just do the exact same here for this side. You'll then want to rotate the waist all the way around so the front is now facing the back. Very traditional Optimus Primal conversion. You'll then want to take his chest piece and pop this section here forwards, rotate it all the way around to now reveal the beast mode chest piece. So very simple but very effective. The next step that you're going to want to do is take this piece, detach it and lift it upwards, because we're now going to pull all of this here out, take this entire section, lift this up, and then take the beast mode head, raise it, rotate this section around, and then snap this piece down. And there is a neck joint here which you are just going going to want to click into place. So once that's snapped in, what we can then do is just close all of this up and then snap the chest piece into place. You're then going to want to rotate this section here all the way around, kind of similar to the mainline Voyager, and then for a few finishing touches, quite literally just bring the shoulder joints down. We can then take the knee joints and the hip joints and reverse them backwards. Do the same here for this side, fold down the butt flap, and that is pretty much the transformation complete. But before we touch base with beast mode, I just want to show you guys how you can store the accessories. So you're going to want to lift this up. If you want the missiles pegged in, I would recommend to only insert them once this guy's transformed. If you insert them before you transform him, the clearance is near enough minimal and you're just going to cause a massive headache for yourself. So just slide them here into the back, just like this. And then we also get some slots on the side of the beast mode, which are very similar to what we've seen from pretty much every Beast Wars Primal, and that is where you can store the swords on the side. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. And bang! Here we have Optimus Primal, fully transformed. I mean, I guess I should say maximized, although don't they only say that when they're going from beast into robot mode? But here he is in beast mode, and he looks pretty great. I mean, the transformation, as you guys saw, is very simple, but I think that just kind of helps to make him even more enjoyable. I mean, there's not much kind of thought process to be had going from robot to beast mode or vice versa, and both modes are an absolute blast. So, as you can see, in terms of kind of the anatomy of the beast mode, very similar to mainline. I think it looks great. I do really wish they did borrow the engineering from the Voyager version in regards to how the toes transform, because I'm not the biggest fan of them just kind of hanging out to the back. Personally, I think they look a little better if you fold them down than as opposed to having them here on the shins. Again, completely up to you guys, but as you can see, the toe detail is pretty sweet on this guy. I love the face sculpt. I mean, this is the most accurate beast mode face sculpt that we've seen for Primal so far. Amazing gunmetal silver there for the nose. I can literally hear Ron Perlman the second I look at this. He was just so awesome in the movie, and the articulation is pretty cool as well. So it can look up and down. It can also tilt side to side to an amazing range, and that is really what helps you in getting him into some of those very accurate poses as seen in the film. Now, unfortunately, you can't have him standing upright, much like we saw from the Voyager class version, because the way they've kind of sculpted the neck is just too thick to kind of pass through this hollow gap. So that is the closest that you can kind of get him to looking down, which, you know what, to be fair, isn't the end of the world. 9 times out of 10, he was on all fours. But yeah, the rest of the articulation is pretty much identical to what we saw in bot mode, although this time we do get those fantastic butterfly joints, which are just awesome for beast mode. Absolutely love them. Again, really do help you with some of those beast mode positions. And this time round, we can also articulate his beast mode toes. So you can hinge these sections here forwards and backwards. You can also use the ankle pivot. I mean, you can start mistransforming him, and to be fair, I have been able to get a few dynamic poses out of him when in beast mode, so that's pretty cool. Overall, fantastic looking alt mode, and you know what? Maybe if he grabs a Terracon, say if he grabs a Terracon with his hand and he can't draw out his swords, what's he going to do? He's going to eject one of those gauntlet guns and absolutely blast their heads clean off. So yeah, you can still weaponize him in this form, and to be honest, I wouldn't mind Takara taking this design and maybe retooling it into an ape link, because can you guys imagine if we had spring-loaded blades which would kind of eject out the side of the forearms, much like we've got here for these gauntlet guns? I think that would be pretty awesome. But yeah, really nice looking beast mode. Now, as we check out a few beast mode comparisons, here we have Ultimate Primal stacked up alongside Mainline Primal. So, as you guys can see, massive difference in terms of scale. I mean, this Ultimate Primal quite literally is a beast. And in terms of beast mode, I'd say they're pretty much on par with each other in terms of detail, besides the whole transformation again here of the toes. This does just clean up way nicer when in comparison to the Ultimate Primal, but then Ultimate Primal has a cleaner backpack in robot mode. So I guess there are pros and cons to be had with both of them in regards to transformation. But yeah, in terms of visual, gotta give it again here to Ultimate Primal. He does look badass. For the sake of nostalgia, here we have him stacked up alongside that retro Beast Wars reissue of the original Optimus Primal figure. So again, as you can see, the original release of Primal alongside the most recent one. Kind of crazy to see how this design has evolved over the last couple of years, but as I mentioned in all of my previous Optimus Primal reviews for Rise of the Beasts, I do think his design for this movie was one of the best we've ever had. It was a great adaptation from Beast Wars into live action, and I liked how they kind of reimagined him slightly to just update the design for modern audiences. Personally, I know I'm a sucker for live action, but I do think his Rise of the Beast design was better when in comparison to his OG Beast Wars 1. Here's how he fares alongside some of the Studio Series beasts. So we've got Voyager class Rhinox, Voyager class Cheetor, and I'm actually really interested to see how the Studio Series version scales with some of these Studio Series beasts, because this I think is pretty decent sizing to what we saw from the movie. Here's the Studio Series Deluxe class Air Razor. Here's mainline Air Razor. So Yeah, these don't scale too badly either. Mainline Cheetor, and I don't think this works as well. The Voyager Cheetor from Studio Series definitely looks a little nicer with this Ultimate Primal. And then finally, Studio Series Rise of the Beast Prime. And to be fair, I think this works pretty nicely. When we see them just about to charge into that final battle, I would say Primal roughly came up to around this height on Optimus Prime when in beast mode. So yeah, again, very much so looking forward to seeing how large the upcoming leader Studio Series Primal is going to be, because as I said, I do think this is perfect scale, at least in base form. And so, wrapping up on this review for the Takara Tomy exclusive Ultimate Optimus Primal. I guess the best word that I could use to summarize this review is fun. You know, Takara Tomy have done a fantastic job in striking a great balance between enjoyability and accuracy. This is exactly what I was hoping we would see at regular retail. You know, those base mode figures, that Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, are absolute crap in comparison to Ultimate Optimus Primal. This thing is absolutely fantastic. You know, amazing looking robot mode, great base mode, very simplistic transformation, great build quality. He feels excellent. Nothing feels cheap. None of the joints are loose. We get proper spring-loaded ratchet joints packed into the hips and the knees. Great gimmicks. Love the gauntlet guns, love the missile launchers, and love the retractable mouthpiece. Overall, I'm absolutely in love with this figure, and I'm hoping that Hasbro see the potential that Takara Tomy have put out here and use this going forward for their future mainline that we can find at retail. Because I can tell you guys something, if this quality was what we could now find in regular stores, I think the shelves would be a lot emptier, because I know for a fact collectors and just regular Transformers fans would much rather have something which looks as awesome as this, with as many gimmicks as it comes with, when in comparison to some of those beast mode offerings that we can now find at retail, such as Prime and B. You guys let me know your thoughts on this figure down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.